have had several people message me asking about chemo side effects. And I've made a video about that before, but I think what they're meaning are what are some of the side effects that we can expect that maybe you don't hear about a lot. And there are plenty of those. So let's get started. So I'm on my 5th type of chemo now. And for the most part, they all have similar side effects, but each one has had certain things that affected me different from all the others. So doctors and people are going to tell you about the nausea, the fatigue, the hair loss, but there are a lot of things that they may not mention that you need to kind of prepare yourself for. One of the biggest things that is very, very frustrating to me is the chemo brain. They call it chemo fog. And that is something, for me, I'm someone who has kind of always excelled academically. If I didn't have anything, like, I've got my brain. I've been fairly smart. That has never really been a struggle to me. But starting chemo, and now I've done so many different types of chemo, my memory is shot. If you don't write it down for me or send it to me in a message where I can put it in my calendar, I'm not going to remember it. And you may tell me something this morning at 8 o'clock, and by 5 o'clock this afternoon, I can't remember what you told me. It is so incredibly frustrating. One of the most frustrating parts for me, because I'm so used to being sharp, like on top of things. So that has been something that has been extremely hard for me to deal with. Tummy issues. They're going to tell you about the nausea. That's common with all of them. But the gastro issues go from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum. And you can have one symptom this morning and by lunch have a completely different symptom. And there's no knowing from day to day what you're going to get. That's fun. Skin and nail issues are a biggie. I know it sounds so crazy, but I have so many freckles already, but they have like tripled since I've started chemo. I don't know what the science behind that is, and you may have somebody tell you that it's completely unrelated, but I know what I had before, and I know what I have now, and I know that it's a lot more. Your nail beds will probably change. I have never been someone who got my nails done a lot. I always had kind of longer nails. It wasn't really an issue. I never even really painted them, honestly. I was never super girly. But chemo will make your nail beds turn dark colors. And it can also make them like lift off the skin. And I have found that if I keep like the nail glue, so if like I get the gel polish, or like right now I have just press-on nails, it helps with keeping them from lifting. Like I said, I don't know the science behind that. It could just be me, but it has helped me tremendously. Something that started with me during the last session of chemo, but has continued with this type of chemo, is I've noticed a difference in my vision. I can see completely fine, but I just noticed that there's a difference. And also, after every single chemo treatment, but typically before we even make it home, my eyes will start pouring water. It will literally look like I'm crying. And it does that randomly throughout the week after chemo. Like, my kids will say, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, it's just the chemo thing. The eye thing is happening. I don't know what it is. So I keep eye drops on me at all times, because they will also turn red and get just ridiculously itchy. And I know that some of that is because I no longer have eyelashes, so like there's nothing catching the dirt and the dust, that is floating around in the air. I know that makes a difference, but that is something that they don't necessarily tell you about. It will affect or can affect your vision. And people ask me all the time if I'm crying because I'm like glassy-eyed, but it is just because that is one of my side effects. one that has been a big deal for me and been really hard for me to deal with, and I know it's going to sound petty because you have stage 4 cancer, why are you worried about this? But it is what it is, and I am who I am. With the type of cancer that I have and the type of treatments that I'm doing, everything is really hormone related, and it causes me to gain weight like ridiculous. I gained so much weight on chemo last time, and then it has just kind of continued this time because it's like chemo has been never ending for me. And like I said, at the end of the day, that's not the biggest, thing to worry about. But when you've lost all your hair, you have no eyelashes, you can't work like you're used to working. Like, every aspect of your life has changed. And then you start gaining this weight from treatments because it's the hormones and the steroids and just all the things are like the perfect storm inside your body. It makes a difference in my mental capacity. At the end of the day, it is what it is, and I'm thankful to just be alive, regardless of what size I wind up being. But it is something that bothers me, and it's not something they tell you about. They talk to you about not losing too much weight, eat the protein, do the things, blah, 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 blah. But they don't talk to you about, look, you might gain a ton of weight, and this is really just going to mess you up in the head. Another one that has been a big deal for me has been my teeth. They tell you before you start chemo, go to the dentist, get your teeth checked, get anything fixed. I didn't do that. I should have done that in the very beginning before I started any of the chemos, because it has kind of just been a steady decline as I've gone through one chemo after another. Now, my teeth are still okay, but there's a difference in my teeth. So I don't know if that's something that they talk about when they bring in new patients. It's been a long time since I was a new patient, but that is definitely something that you're going to want to think about. Make sure everything is in order as far as dental-wise before you start chemo. The last one, and probably one of the most important ones for me, is just knowing ahead of time the mental toll that it is going to take on you. It is hard physically. It is so hard. But I think even more so than that is it is hard emotionally and mentally. You have to really stay in a positive mindset, and you need to find your faith and find your people and find that tribe that is just going to keep you lifted and keep you help keep you in a good place, because if you're not in a good place, you're not going to be able to do it. Chemo in general, I always say it's doable. You can do it. It is hard, but it is doable. But that is only the case. For me, if I didn't have my faith, I wouldn't make it through it. If I didn't have my family, my people, there's just no way that I would have made it this far. That is the most important thing, and that's not something that they're going to talk to you about, but you need to know going into it, it is going to be hard. It is going to be difficult. There are going to be days where you want to give up, but you have to have that tribe of people, and you have to have that faith that just keeps you putting one foot in front of the other, and just accepting the fact that, okay, today is a hard day, but I can make it through hard days. And that's all I've got to really talk about right now. But if you have heard of the side effect and you want to ask me about it, please feel free to message me. That is kind of the whole point of this, is for me to share my journey and for me to hopefully help somebody who is in the same position as me. So that's all for now, and I hope y'all have the very best day. Bye, y'all.